This is 5 on 20 News with Jamain, coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. It is Monday, February 5th. First, let's talk local headlines. Former Maricopa County Sheriff and Arizona Senate candidate Joe Arpaio said that he was unaware that he gave an interview to a publication that exposes anti-Semitic views. Sheriff Joe gave at least 5 interviews to the American Free Press, a publication that regularly runs conspiracy theories. This included an article that alleged that the September 11th attacks were a Jewish plot. Arpaio wrote on Twitter that he was unaware of the interview and that he doesn't support the publication's viewpoint. He's currently running for the Senate seat of Jeff Flake, who is retiring this year. Arpaio faces a busy Republican field of candidates, which includes Representative Martha McSally and Kelly Ward, who also had a history of sympathizing with conspiracy theorists and Tea Party groups. An Arizona man who was found to have supplied Las Vegas shooter Stephen Paddock with ammunition was arrested on Friday after it was revealed he sold armor-piercing bullets. Douglas Haig of Mesa previously admitted to selling tracer rounds to Paddock, but denied having any further connection with the shooter. However, an FBI sweep of Haig's house in October discovered further ammunition which Haig did not have a license to produce. Haig now faces a maximum $250,000 fine and up to 5 years in prison. The court has set February 15th for a preliminary hearing. Paddock killed 58 and wounded 422 others in the largest mass shooting in recent American history. His motivation for the shooting is still unknown. Tucson was named one of the best cities in the nation to get married, according to website Wallet Hub. The Old Pueblo came in number 14 on the list, mainly for the affordability of holding a wedding in the city. Tucson also came in high for activities and attractions, but ranked low for facilities and services. Scottsdale was also on the list. They came in at 24, although the best rankings came in facilities and services. The only other Arizona cities to crack the top 50 were Phoenix at 27 and Tempe at 49. Okay. Arizona Senator John McCain released a statement about recent attacks on the FBI by Republican congressmen. In the statement, McCain says that the Republicans are, quote, doing Putin's job for him by derailing the FBI investigation into possible Russian interference in the 2016 election. The statement came the same week that Republican representatives released a controversial memo that accused the FBI of abusing their surveillance powers. The memo stems from an investigation into Carter Page, an advisor to Donald Trump's presidential campaign, who is alleged to have been in contact with high-level Russian officials since 2013. In a statement, John McCain said that the American people deserve to know all the facts surrounding Russia's ongoing effort to subvert our democracy, which is why Special Counsel Mueller's investigation must proceed unimpeded. The president has consistently called Mueller's motivations into question, alleging that he and the FBI harbor bias against Trump. McCain also said that, quote, elected officials, including the president, must stop looking at this investigation through the warped lens of politics and manufacturing partisan shadows. And speaking of John McCain, the senator introduced a bipartisan immigration bill today that seeks to keep the government open before it runs out of funding at the end of the week. McCain, along with Democratic Senator Christopher Coons, announced that the bill would provide an opportunity for citizenship for DACA recipients who've resided in the U.S. since December 31st, 2013. The bill orders a study to figure out what border security measures are needed, but does not include additional funding for the border wall. The president has said that he will not support any immigration legislation that doesn't include funding for the wall, which is one of his major campaign promises. The federal government has until Friday to pass a bill that addresses the DACA issue, or it will shut down yet again. The government shut down for 3 days in January after Senate Republicans and Democrats were unable to come to an agreement. To buy themselves more time, Congress passed a continuing resolution for 3 weeks. An Amtrak train traveling from New York to Miami collided with a freight train on Sunday, killing 2 and injuring over 100. The crash caused the lead engine and some passenger cars to derail, according to a statement by Amtrak. The conductor of the train, Michael Celia, was killed, along with the engineer of the train, Michael Kempf. The National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, said that the train was diverted from the main track onto a side track where the freight train was. The freight train was parked on the side track after having been at a loading and unloading facility for automobiles. They said they would investigate why the switch was aligned to divert the train. This was the second major incident for Amtrak in less than a week. Last week, a train carrying Republican members of Congress collided with a garbage truck, killing 1 person. The incident is also currently under investigation. The Fed slapped Wells Fargo with an unusual penalty that prevents the bank from growing after they were found to have taken part in widespread, I'm a little sick. After they were seen to take part in widespread consumer abuses. This is the first time the Fed has placed a cap on the overall growth of a firm. In addition to the penalty, the Fed is demanding the Wells Fargo replace 4 board members. The move comes after the bank admitted in 2016 that they created potentially millions of fake bank accounts at the expense of unsuspecting customers. The Fed said on Friday that the bank's business strategy prioritized its own growth at the expense of risk management, resulting in compliance breakdowns. Wells Fargo will be able to continue accepting customer deposits and make customer loans while it prepares a plan for improvement to be delivered to the Fed in 2 months. Wells Fargo said that its total earnings could drop by as much as $400 million this year as a result of the penalty. Poor Wells Fargo. Wall Street has taken a tumble the past week and a half, partly due to the recent Wells Fargo position and because of the fears over inflation. The Dow fell 1,500 points on Monday and nearly 1,900 points over the past 2 business days. The plunge sent the Dow below 25,000, where it hasn't been since January 3rd. This represented the worst single day in Dow history, beating the previous record of a 777 drop in September of 2008. A report released on Friday said that wages have grown at the fastest pace in 8 years, leading some to feel that inflation will come next. There's also speculation that the Fed will act faster to raise rates in order to stave off inflation, which means borrowing costs will increase for businesses. This has caused bond yields to increase over the past few days. Wells Fargo stock fell over 8% after being hit with the Fed penalty, and other bank stocks fell with it, including Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and Citigroup, who fell about 1%. The stock market came after several all-time highs in the past few months. Experts say that the record highs came so quickly that it made the market realize there are still some risk out there. The Trump administration released a report on the state of America's nuclear weaponry that includes a section about a mysterious Russian nuclear weapon that may or may not exist. The weapon, dubbed Status 6, appears to be a kind of doomsday device. In the report, it's described as a new intercontinental nuclear-armed, nuclear-powered undersea autonomous tornado, unquote. Edward Geis, a Russian specialist at the RAND Corporation, said that the weapon's radius is the size of a, quote, pretty large metropolitan area, and that it's difficult to imagine in normal terms, unquote. The weapon first appeared during a public appearance by Russian President Vladimir Putin, who was visiting with generals. On Russian television, the camera showed a drawing of the new nuclear weapon. On one side, on the slide that was shown, it says that the weapon's payload would be many tens megatons in yield. This would be thousands of times more powerful than the bombs dropped at the end of World War II and more powerful than anything that the US or Russia has previously produced. However, some experts claim that the weapon might not exist and might just be a way for Putin to intimidate the West. Geist says that the leak of the Status 6 slide was likely the Russians' way of getting our attention. Whether it's real or not, the weapon did make it into the U.S. report, which means that military planners are taking it seriously. The U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, has reportedly pulled back from a full probe of how Equifax failed to protect the personal data of millions of consumers. In September, hackers stole the personal data of about 143 million Americans, prompting the CFPB director, Richard Cordray, to order the probe. Cordray resigned in November and was replaced by Mick Mulvaney, the president's former budget chief. Since Mulvaney took over, the Equifax probe, the Equifax probe had slowed down, according to several government and industry sources. While the agency can't comment on open investigations, inside sources say that Mulvaney has not issued a subpoena to Equifax or sought sworn testimony from executives. The CFPB also refused help from bank regulators at the Federal Reserve, FDIC, and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Equifax says that it's under investigation by every state attorney general and faces more than 240 class action suits. Whew. Well, this was 5 on 20 News with Jamain. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube account, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for all the latest Creative Tucson news and content. You can feel free to get in touch with us at info@creativetucson.org. Thanks for watching, and stay creative, Tucson.